Susie.
Rob.
We are in person together for the first time since Fossil Fast has got going. Amazing.
It's lovely.
Lovely to actually see you rather than through a little Zoom screen.
Exactly.
It's day 2 of SVP. I'm burnt out already.
I'm so tired.
Well, I think we need a cup of tea and a rest and then recharge and go again. So, it's day 2. You and I were both on in the first morning of the first session. I couldn't make it to your talk because we were scheduled at the same time, but you made it to my talk, so now there's an asymmetry and I feel guilty.
Yeah, I'm glad about that.
So what... Well, you wouldn't want me in the room. I'm not even allowed in. What was your talk about? Tell everybody. And me.
Well, actually, I'm not going to, Rob, because my talk was on a paper that's Impress in Nature.
Oh, shit. I mean, oh, goodness gracious. Hey, Impress in Nature, that's big news.
Yeah, it is very exciting stuff. It is a project that actually is really, being led by Attila Osi, my Hungarian colleague. But they brought me in to do the phylogenetic analyses, and in doing so, we realised some cool stuff.
Excellent.
But
so when do we expect this to come out?
Well, it is Impress. I'm hoping that it will be, in the next sort of 6 weeks. I'm hoping it's going to be a 2025.
How many Nature papers are you going to have this year?
Well, if it comes out this year, that will be 2. And did I mention they were both first authored?
You did then. So we had a Spike MLS special. Are we going to have that? What are you allowed to tell us about this one?
It is about a group of dinosaurs that are known as rhabdodontids.
Not heard of those.
Okay, they're iguanodontians, early diverging iguanodontians.
Okay, I know what an iguanodontian is.
Or are they? And that's all I'm saying.
All right, okay. Right, well, what's this space? So the reason I couldn't go, because I was in the Paleozoic fish session having lots of fish fun.
Now, I thoroughly enjoed your talk. It was most entertaining.
Yes.
I think there was a picture of me in it.
There was.
Some years
2007,
ago.
yes.
Do you know, there was a picture of you presenting in it, and I would never have recognised that was you.
That's because I used to be thin and not covered in grey hair.
The overwhelming thing that I got out of your talk was that all of us used to be much thinner.
I think some more than others, but let's not go into that. So yes, I was busy talking about Emma's work from her PhD, but the reason I included that old picture was to talk about how it took so long to get to that point. 18 years was my estimation of when we first came up with the idea to actually getting it out. But we had a nice evolutionary relationship to the fossil jawless fishes, which we all need more of.
We do, but actually, I think that it was a good take home. Actually, keep going with these things, and sometimes science takes a long time.
Yes.
And also, they've been dead for 350 million years, so they're not going to change much. So you can. Yeah. But you actually said at the end of your talk, didn't you? If anybody can find me a longer-lived project, and I said you need to talk to Paul Barrett because this year I am a co-author on a paper which he is now leading, although he wasn't originally, because the original study was actually started in 1989.
Oh, Lord.
And we are hoping that it will be submitted in 2026. So that is a long-lived one.
Okay, so Paul wins. So I guess the reason it took so long, I've made all my excuses, but also the reason it actually matters because if you want to figure out where the origin of vertebrates is, we need these evolutionary trees, and we're getting there. So, what else is going on? Well, I've been meeting different people. You've been off busy doing the Roma Prize session, so we talked about that briefly. I'm going to be meeting one of the people later to talk about that.
Who are you meeting to talk about it?
Emily. We're going to go. Hopefully, we're going to talk about Tiktaalik. So, just for a bit of context, the Roma Prize session is the competition for people at the final. I think we talked about it in the intro episode, which is the competition for the best student talk. So you've been judging this, so you can't presumably say much about it.
What I can tell you is that I think, so the Roma session is very competitive to get in. There are only 16 slots, but we often get, around about 40 abstracts for it. So, most people who apply don't actually get to give talks for it. We pick the best abstracts and then they get to give talks. And I think that it is always the best session at SVP. And I always really enjoy sitting through it, and I moderate it as well. So I was in there at 20 to 8 this morning, ready for the first talk at 8, and didn't get out till 12:15. I did nip out to go to the loo, but that was it.
And now you're sat here talking to me.
Well,
you need a cup of coffee and a lie down.
I really do, but it was. The thing is, I've moderated other sessions before at SVP, and it has nearly killed me because I'm just like I cannot stay awake this long for this many talks in a row without stopping. But the Roma session is. It's completely different. All of them are so good and so engaging.
Those guys had worked that data. They had worked that presentation. There was some really interesting... And also what I liked about it was diversity of stuff in there. There's some new stuff in there.
There was hardly any dinosaur talks, right? One dinosaur talk?
There was one dinosaur from Joel, who's a former master's student
two dinosaur talks, two, yeah.
So Joel did a master's with me in Manchester with Russell, and is now doing a project on dinosaurs. So
he's submitted, I think, as well, hasn't he?
Good,
He's
yes.
finished.
So that was the Roma Prize session. But moving on, what are you looking forward to other than a cup of coffee and a nap?
Oh, I can't really think beyond that, to be honest with you. Do you know what I'm doing tonight?
What?
The organising committee are going to play cricket tonight.
What?
Yes. There's a bar. Have you heard of Sixes Cricket?
No.
It's an indoor. It's like going bowling, but with cricket. So there's a bowling machine. You have a plastic bat. It has a screen where an actual bowler runs up and bowls at you on the screen. The bowling machine fires the ball out, and you hit it.
Yeah.
And then you get runs.
This might indicate a class difference between you and I, in the sense that I took my research group in Manchester out for a little night. We went out to the darts and did electronic darts. And you take your group out to cricket.
It's not my group. It's the organising committee. It's Birmingham.
Okay.
There was actually a vote.
Yeah.
I don't want to think that it was entirely swayed by the fact that me and Richard are massive cricket fans, but it probably was.
Yeah.
I have been to Sixes once with Richard before, and I won.
So who's going to win tonight?
Well, it's going to be quite problematic if it's not me, Rob, for all sorts of reasons.
Well, you're also battling the tiredness, right? So I don't know.
Oh, we all are, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, that's true. Yes, Richard too. Also, because Richard's been running a lot. He's the
he's
host
the organizer,
committee, right? Yeah,
he's
so
basically,
he must be burnt out by now. We'll go and buy him a beer later. Right, in that case, I better release you from your duties to go and have a coffee. So, as you know, I have been off busy meeting people. So,
yes.
I'm going to...
Who have you got lined up to meet this afternoon?
Well, we've got Dean Lomax and...
Dean Lomax?
Dean Lomax.
Oh, Dean Lomax. Okay. Oh,
and
that one.
Dave Hone.
Okay.
And then tomorrow I'm meeting Emily from
the Roma session.
Meet Bolo to talk about Mongolian education as well. That'd be fun.
Oh, that'd be very interesting.
And I'm also going to meet Stephanie Drumheller to talk about astronomy experiments.
Oh,
hopefully,
great.
if I can track her down. I've not actually seen her in person yet.
I have. She's here.
She is
yes.
here. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So I'm trying to bring a curated load of par excellence for the Fossil Files listeners and let you have a rest.
Sounds good to me, Rob.
So it's day 3 at SVP, and I've managed to track down Emily Hillan, who is at the University of Chicago, PhD student in your...
I just started my 5th year.
5th year, lovely. So, Emily, you were in the Roma Prize session. So we've introduced the Roma Prize session to people over the day, which is the competition for postgrads doing the best research. I wanted to talk to somebody that was in that, and you were talking about Tiktaalik. So can you introduce Tiktaalik in like 1 or 2 sentences?
Right. So everybody knows about the water to land transition.
Uh-huh.
Tiktaalik rosier, we only know one species from the genus, maybe, hot
Mm-hmm.
topic. But it's a early representative of the tetrapodomorph radiation. So it's been classically described as a transitional form, but whether it's transitional or not, it's a member of our stem lineage. So it's a fish that's starting to interact with the substrate, starting to have some very tetrapody features.
It's an absolute icon, I would say.
It is. It's a bit
poster
famous.
child. I mention it in my undergraduate lectures all the time. He's been a meme.
I
all
love
the
those
memes kicking
memes.
him back into the sea, or her, I guess.
Every year for my birthday, one of my friends gets me a meme T-shirt of Tiktaalik.
After 5 years, are you now tired of this yet or not? I don't know.
I'm not. I think it's terribly funny. My most recent one was, no, Grandpa, go back. And, you know, a fish left the water, so now I have to pay taxes, things like that.
Lovely. Oh, no. So, Tiktaalik's from Greenland. Devonian.
Tiktaalik is from the Canadian Arctic.
Canadian Arctic. Right, yes. I'm getting mixed up with my acanthostegers and ichthyosaurs.
That's all right. There's a great wealth coming from the Arctic Circle.
So this is out in that deep Arctic Canada. We're talking helicopters, are we, to get out there?
We are definitely talking helicopters. We're talking 3 days of travel to get to your site.
So you've been out there, haven't you?
I did. We were out there last year. I was lucky enough to be part of that team.
How many times have you been out there?
Just the once.
Just the
We've
once.
tried to go every year that I've been a grad student, but first year was COVID, so we weren't allowed to go. Next year, government shut down, so we couldn't get our licenses. Third year, the helicopter that was meant to take us crashed, so we had to turn around.
This is one of Martin Brazo, he works on Paleozoic fish. He does I've done field work in Mongolia with him, but he's also been out to Arctic Canada and with my former PhD student Emma, and when they describe it, it sounds terrifying. There's the idea that you are dropped off by the helicopter and then you may not
Do
see
you know
them
that
again.
moment when it leaves and you know you won't see it again for 4 weeks?
That's the bit why I'm never getting on it again.
It's an interesting feeling. I think the people that go are slightly self-selecting. You know, I spend a lot of time outdoors recreationally. You have to take it seriously, but it is a great opportunity. You know, it's a beautiful part of the world.
So, but it also might pay dividends because...
Yes, you can find some pretty cool stuff up there.
And you found new specimens, is that right?
We did find a new specimen of Tiktaalik. That's right, yeah.
Okay.
We had gone sort of with the intention of scouting a new site. This was not a site that had been visited before by the team. But we know it's the right type of depositional environment to find Tiktaalik specimens. So we found a lot of Bothria lepus, a lot of cool stuff, but no big sarcops until the last working day that we were able to get with the weather. And we almost stepped on it because we were on our walk home.
Oh, no.
And you just see a little rock that's not a rock, and your vision shifts, and all of a sudden you realize that is the back half of a Tiktaalik lower jaw, and then once you see one bone, you see the rest, and it was...
So the super cool thing about this new specimen, I don't know if I'm revealing too much, stop me if I am,
that's all right.
is that Tiktaalik was mostly known from the head and the jaw and the front limbs, but these new specimens might tell us a bit more about what's going on at the back.
That's quite right. So, yes, the first specimen that was described of Tiktaalik was an entire block that had skull, pectoral, and trunk elements. So a lot of our understanding comes from the skull. It's very big, chunky bone in the skull, so it preserves well. We have a lot of individuals with the skull represented. The postcrania is a little bit more patchy in preservation, and we had a few pelvic girdles isolated before, but not found in articulation, and we'd never found the femur before. So my thesis before we ever went to the Arctic was on the pelvic girdle of tetrapods and how you evolve from like a fish pelvis that's one bone, pretty simple, to a big 3-bone.
I mean, hang on, I've got to interject at that point and say, side note, I mean, this is a phenomenal... I mean, Susie, who's the podcast host, she's often talking about how we need to do field work, but this is an occasion where you had a PhD that you wanted to work specifically on the pelvis of Tiktaalik.
Yeah.
You went out and did field work, and you specifically found that. I mean, that's not how field work's meant to work. You're meant to find a whole lot. You don't normally find. You normally find a whole lot of extraneous stuff that you weren't expecting. You went out very specifically to find one specific thing, and you found that very specific thing.
Well, it wasn't even that really. I mean, I love field work, and I was happy to go with the understanding that you can't pick what you find, right?
Yeah.
So whatever we were going to find, I was happy to help collect, and hopefully it would progress our understanding in some way, but it certainly wasn't going to be a pelvis. My thesis committee chair asked me before we went, are you hoping to find something that will add to your thesis? And I went, oh, absolutely not. There's no chance that we're going to find something that will be relevant, because I work on such a specific part of the body. Yeah, we did. It was amazing.
Well, that's fortuitous, but also, I guess, not an accident. It's by design, right?
You put yourself in the right conditions to find it, but it was funny because, we're seeing bits that we could identify of lower jaw. We found it has both shoulders, so we found the shoulder, we found the humerus. It has the snout. It's this beautiful little preserved snout.
Nice.
But then we picked something up, and I went, oh, is this a humerus? It doesn't look like a humerus. It's a bit off.
So it was just you just picked it up. It
was amazing. So it was weathered out, sitting on the surface.
Oh my god!
Yeah, we didn't have to do any digging to collect it.
If you'd come a few weeks later, it might have been turned to gravel.
Well, that's what we think.
Storm.
Because everything ices over during the winter. If we'd come the next year, it might not have been there.
Wow.
Then again, that said, for it to be so completely weathered out, it must have been sitting there for a few hundred years at least. So
I see. Right. Okay. So what can you tell us about this femur? What are you allowed to tell us?
Well, I will say that we're working on getting it published, so I won't discuss too much. But
there's no one listening. It's just you and I.
Just you and I. And I did just present it at a conference, so it's hardly a secret.
That's true, yeah.
But it has a biarticular hip joint, and that was completely unexpected. So in our hips, we have a single proximal end of the humerus that fits into that socket of our acetabulum, so just one joint. And everything in the tetrapod stem that we know of has that condition. So when I picked it up, and there's this nice rounded femoral head, that's fine, but then there's this second little, it's like a hook shape. And it was just completely wrong. We didn't really know what to do with it. But then when you put it against the back end of the pelvis, you see that it matches really closely. And so it has this really special articular conformation that must be adapted for some sort of functional implication, which we're working on determining. Yeah.
So that was the bit in your talk where my jaw just dropped, when you had the lovely 3D image of a femur, and then you brought up 3D image of the pelvis, and they just snuck together.
I'm so glad you liked that. That was the moment.
That was the pin drop moment.
That was the moment that I wanted to recreate for the audience, because in the field, like I said, we didn't know what this bone was, because it didn't look like we expected it to it didn't have the right anatomy, and we had never seen one before, so we couldn't identify it. But then we did know the pelvic girdle, so I picked up the pelvic girdle, and when you hold them against each other and they just lock into place,
that's amazing.
It was like chills, chills down your spine. So I wanted to recreate that for the audience to really... I let the specimen speak for itself, because really it does a better job than I could.
Well, it did. So what are the implications then? I guess if you've got two... I mean, now I work on things that don't have pelvises.
Right.
So what's the implications of having a biarticular joint? Are there things allowed to do that?
No.
There's.
I really don't know what to make of it, to be honest. First of all, Tiktaalik and its pelvis are weird in quite a few different ways.
Yeah.
So maybe I think it can help tell a story of dispelling that myth of a transitional form. It's animal represents a perfect intermediate between an ancestral condition and what we see
No.
today. So I think it reveals that there was a lot more experimentation going on in the tetrapod stem than we have perhaps appreciated. I think it implies that it was doing some weird functional things. It was definitely using its pelvis for substrate interaction, but perhaps not for walking, as some people might like to imagine. It had very limited ability to like pull its leg back with retraction. It didn't have an ischium where a lot of those muscles would attach. So it was doing something that we don't have a good functional analog for today. It was experimenting early in substrate.
Well, I look forward to finding out more about that, not just because I love Tiktaalik, but also because those specimens were lovely. It's a nice story as well, just like, okay, I want to go and find this thing. I go and find the thing. I just wish that all field work went like that.
Well, I mean, I'm very lucky to work in a lab with people who are experienced in that. Neil Shubin has been going to the Canadian Arctic since the 90s and really knows what he's looking for and knows his stuff. And then I'm in a great position to collaborate with some lab members. Dr. Neelam Sharma has been really instrumental in helping us unpick some of those functional aspects. It's a really amazing opportunity as a grad student. It's kind of what you dream of but don't think will actually happen.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, so it's day 2 at SVP, and I have managed to track down Dr. Dave Home of Queen Mary University London. Dave, how are you doing?
All right, thank you, Rob. Recovering from a long, very long first day with a lot of walking and standing.
A lot of walking and standing. Well, that's good. My voice is a bit hoarse today because I've already been doing too much shouting.
Mine was this morning.
Yes. So you're presenting some stuff with your group on some pterosaury things, is that right?
Yeah, so I'm on a couple of posters. One that German student Dennis Tieder is doing with René and Bruce Lauer, and then myself, René and Bruce, Adam Fitch and Freddie Spindler have another poster, and these are all covering a bunch of new pterosaurs from the Solnhofen in the wider sense. So we've got some stuff from Solnhofen proper, which Dennis is looking at. So he's got this really nice Tinocasmatid skull, which is preserved in 3D, which has been CT scanned. Because you never really get that for Solnhofen, everything's squished flat.
The bar's been raised here with some posters having 3D printed stuff alongside them. Now, do you have 3D printed stuff? He does.
Dennis has 3D printed the lacrimals because they're really interesting and unlike any other pterosaur lacrimals. So that's the little
You're
bone
going to have to tell me what a lacrimal is.
Yeah, so it's like the bone at the front of the skull that supports almost this little eyebrow in some things. And it's the lacrimal because literally the tear ducts run through it.
So I'm going to go and see some...
crying.
I'm looking forward to seeing some pterosaur tear ducts later today.
Yeah, it'll be fantastic.
I also wanted to ask you, because you have been working on theropods for many years and you've written books about theropods. We can come to that in a minute. But also
whether I try to or not.
The big event that happened yesterday was... Well, I guess it's already been out for a few weeks now, but the Nanotyrannus was the big news.
It was. I mean, the room... Did you go in? Because the room was heaving.
I managed to get in.
It was like standing room at the back.
But they were turning people away.
Yeah.
We chatted with James Napoli yesterday. I mean, you must have an opinion on Nanotyrannus as a...
Yeah, so I did get to see the paper early because the press wanted to know what I thought about it. And yeah, I'm in line with all the other major Tyrannosaur researchers in that it's a really pretty convincing case. We've all, I was on one of the, it's probably a juvenile side. I've written papers that say that, but one of the key things we always said was, we're fundamentally lacking this real establishment of adult status for one of these small specimens, and now they've provided it, and that alone made a pretty convincing case. And then there was a bunch of other details as well.
Well, I mean, that sounds very sensible, and I agree with you. It is also disappointing from a content perspective because I want someone to be a naysayer and say they were all wrong so I can stir controversy. But I haven't found anybody to deny the controversy yet.
I don't think you're going to find it, to be honest. I mean, I've recorded an episode of my own podcast, which will be out in due course.
Yes.
I picked at a couple of nits, but it's very much, I disagree with this detail, but it's very, very solid. They've done a great deal of due diligence, as it were, of picking up the kind of areas that some really awkward referee or kind of commenter might have, and have dealt with most of them very, very thoroughly.
Lovely. So that's coming up in your podcast, Terrible Lizards. You've been doing that for some years with Izzy, right?
Yeah. 5-6 years now, I think. It's really horrifying how
I'm
long
not sure I've got
going.
6 years in me. I'll have run out of things to say.
I've spent the last 3 years at the start kind of getting to this time of year, and Izzy's like, are you happy to still do it? And I'm like, I'm not sure I'm going to have enough material for a whole year. And 3 years later, that's run every single year. So
excellent. Well, look out for
we're not stopping yet.
final question about Nanotyrannus. Why does it get people so excited, do you think?
My suspicion is that it's the T-Rex thing, in that T-Rex is such an... it's the only thing we say T. We don't say Tyrannosaurus. Everyone knows what you mean. You don't need the genus name. And so it's become such a cultural icon, not just in the public mind, but it is there in paleontology as well. And it has become something of a model organism where we base so much of our research around it, because we know more about it than almost any other dinosaur.
Okay.
That people coming in and saying, we've completely messed up a whole bit of its biology, is inevitably going to stir up some controversy, because a lot of people have looked at this a lot of the time.
Right.
But then I think it is at least part of that public side of things, of that external perception that you get with, let's be honest, T-Rex, Triceratops, Velociraptor, Spinosaurus, because they're now as much public entities as they are research scientific subjects.
Well, that segues brilliantly into...
it wasn't intended to, but it does.
The Spinosaurs. So you have a new book coming out, Spinosaur Tales. I'm looking at a copy of it now.
Written with and illustrated by Mark Whitten. It was out in the UK just last week. It'll be out everywhere else. I mean, not everywhere else. I hope someone in Papua New Guinea isn't listening to this and going, oh, good, I can get it on January the 20th, but I think it's that kind of time.
So Spinosaurs also attract a level of fervent...
yes, they do.
Disputatious activity about whether they're swimming or not. So I'm presuming your book is going to tell us whether they do or don't swim.
I'm going to tell you what I've already said in a bunch of my papers that I've written, and many other people have written, and basically argued that, these things definitely have a lot of aquatic affinities and are eating fish. They're spending a lot of time in and around water, but that's a very long way from saying they're swimming a lot or were good swimmers or fast or active
Okay, so
swimmers.
I now have to go and drag one of the other team to come and fight you in the corridor, because that'll make good content.
Yeah, and I think you'll struggle to find them because they're not here.
Never mind. All right, then.
Tragically for you, you'll just have to put up with me and my one-sided take that I'm right about everything.
So is there anything non-dinosaur that you're looking forward to at SVP? Or are you just thinking about for the listeners, Dave's face is stopping to think. Is there a world outside dinosaurs?
And pterosaurs?
And pterosaurs, sorry, yes.
There can be. I sat through some of the Roma talks this morning.
They were very good, yeah.
Yeah, so the kind of PhD student ones. Yeah. I saw a couple. I really like the Amphisbaenian talk, because I really like Amphisbaenians.
Oh, I missed that.
And that was a rarity, because it was even in the title. It was mostly about extant things. And then he mentioned fossils right at the end. And it's like, that's not a no-no, of course, but it's like slightly weird to come to a vertebrate paleontology conference and your big keynote speak. So it's like 90% of his runtime was living members of the clade.
Well, that's
really interesting stuff.
I'm going to try and track down Emily, who was talking about Tiktaalik, because I want to have a chat with her.
Yeah, I missed that one. Yeah, I was told that was very good.
Is it a fish or is it not a fish? Depends on how you look at it. Right, well, thank you very much, Dave. I better let you get back on with your business.
Yes, I've got my poster session coming up.
Right, well, you better go and stand by it and spread the word of pterosaurs.
I will. Thank
you
very
later.
much.
So it's day 2 of SVP, and I've managed to track down TV's Dean Lomax. Is that okay to call you TV's Dean Lomax?
Restart it again.
No, I'm keeping it in. So you're here to talk about some of your latest ichthyosaur research, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So this is about the now I guess quite famous, covered in the press and stuff. Here you go. TV was the sword dragon. So that's a new ichthyosaur that we named called Zyphodraken. So
you got a big splash for that one, didn't you?
It did. Yeah, good pun there.
That wasn't meant to be a pun.
Yeah, no, it did. It got some really good press, and we were really excited to see it published. And to be honest, I didn't anticipate the paper coming out so quickly. So I thought it'd be kind of all, new, talking about it here, before the paper's out. But it was good to see it out quite relatively soon after submitting it. But it's an important specimen for multiple reasons. It's the most complete marine reptile ever documented in the Pliensbachian, part of the early Jurassic. So the stage in the early Jurassic, roughly 183, 187-ish million years old. It's cool. And it's a beautiful skeleton too. That really long sword-like snout, hence the name.
Lovely. Yeah. I should have introduced some context for Dean. Dean has been working on ichthyosaurs for years now.
Yeah, it's 17 years.
But you're also actively involved in all sorts of public outreach. You had an unconventional route into paleontology, coming from a slightly different background. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so my background was, one of those kids, like many people who go into paleontology, fascinated by dinosaurs, fossils, and so on. And then kind of getting into paleontology professionally, I looked at it in my teen years, and there was very few opportunities for me because I failed science. Would you believe in GCSE?
Oh dear.
Wasn't allowed to do A-level science. The 2 A-levels that I did, I also failed, and so I kind of at 18 I was like, well, I'm still really passionate about paleontology. I'd done one thing and another, really wanted to go into paleo, and didn't have the grades or the finances. And then, kind of long story short, sold some of my possessions, including back then my beloved Star Wars collection.
You sold your Star Wars collection?
I
didn't realise this was part of the story.
I did, yeah, it's part of the story, absolutely, yeah. And so that kind of I went off to Wyoming for about nearly 4 months when I was 18. Got my foot on the ladder, and then fast forward to now, and now working professionally for 17 and a half years, and worked my way up the ladder. And never did an undergrad. I don't know if you know that. Yeah.
No, I did do that. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
The reason I'm asking is because I know Dean because he came to the University of Manchester to work with my old colleague John Nuds. But now you're you write lots of books, right? So you've been signing loads.
Yeah. So today I was doing a book signing for, I think it's like nearly 2.5 hours now, and that's for my latest book, The Secret Lives of Dinosaurs. So that looks at one area which I've been really interested in, which, to be honest, actually stems back to first get my foot on the ladder in Wyoming, but also my first publication, which was on ichthyosaurs as well, funnily enough, like Draken. But that was looking at the book focuses on behaviour in fossils. So it's the sort of thing, Rob, where it's stomach contents, last meals, to kind of evidence of fighting, biting, anything, even sex as well. So like looking at like evidence of mating, evidence of diseases, that sort of stuff, and truly extraordinary fossils.
That reminds me, I should ask you about. So when Susie and I did our first ever episode of the podcast, we did a plesiosaur. We looked at one from I don't know how to pronounce it. I made a Poseidonschnafter, whatever it is, the German one. You know what it's called?
Yeah.
No, you're looking at
which one? We'll make up a name now.
So it was a plesiosaur with soft tissues, and they reconstructed it and looked at it swimming. So soft tissues. When you're out digging up these things, are you keeping an eye out for soft tissues? And I mean, most of the ones that I've seen you in the field with these massive, spectacular things in quarries and things like Rutland. But I mean, soft tissues in the field must be tricky. Are you keeping an eye out for them and trying to preserve them when you find them?
Yeah, definitely. And it's always difficult because, some of the stuff we've come across, use Rutland, for example. We found a few things at Rutland where we're like, is that some sort of soft tissue preservation? It was similar to some stuff I'd seen in, say, Holsmarden, the Posidonia shale material, obviously very famous.
You just said it. That's what I was trying to say. The Posidonia.
Posidonia. There you go. There we go. Full circle. We found it.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Posidonia material, and so we look for that sort of stuff as comparison, and it's really difficult from yourself from looking at one formation to another and trying to find similarities. But absolutely, every time if I'm leading a dig or if I'm part of a dig, we're always looking for soft tissue preservation.
So that was one of the things we were talking about when it came to that Posidonia shale plesiosaur, is that it reveals that there's a lot more soft tissue out there getting preserved that people haven't been looking at before, potentially brushing away. And you're actually at the coalface, as it were, digging things up. So I guess it's a challenge, though, I'm guessing, to actually deal with.
It is a challenge, and it's good. It helps that I've had an opportunity over the years to really look at material, especially for, obviously it's good for ichthyosaurs. There are quite a few specimens with soft tissue preservation.
Yes.
I mean, our recent Nature paper, you might have seen
the
giant
flipper.
The one, and that spectacular specimen, truly spectacular. And that sort of stuff, having worked on that for 6 years, when we've been out digging up ichthyosaurs, like Rutland, that was obviously found prior to Rutland, and I've been working on it prior to Rutland. So when I was digging up the Rutland sea dragon, we were looking for that sort of thing. We were like, let's look for this, let's look for it, but inevitably we didn't find anything. But weirdly enough, with Rutland, you get some kind of like scoop here, but I won't go into too much detail. But we actually have got some sort of soft tissue structures in Rutland, which you wouldn't even see necessarily with the naked eye. It's part of an ongoing project. But it is a sort of thing going from the field to the lab and prep right through to kind of research. It's good to.
That is a Fossil Files exclusive. There we go. All right, well, thanks, Dean. Enjoy. And one final question: what are you looking forward to seeing? Other thing? I mean, you're only here for the day, right? So you won't get to see a lot of things.
Yeah, unfortunately not. Yeah, too many bloody commitments and all that sort of stuff. But I was only here for today. But I really enjoyed watching some of the Roma talks.
Yes, a lot of people said so. There were some really interesting talks from because I guess it's interesting to see because what the PhD students come out with. That's the future of the discipline, and they're coming up with some excellent talks. Yeah. It looks like some of them were so slick. I think they must have practiced it about 20 or 70 times or something.
Yeah, I mean, they're amazing stuff. And I always like the fact about SVP and conferences like this is you just see so much cool stuff being obviously discussed, talked about. And one of the things in particular, it's worth mentioning, the novel aspect as well. Yeah. There's several people I've seen on posters and a couple of talks where they're just incorporating, whether it's stuff like machine learning or it's the 3D printing side of things, which obviously gradually over the years is getting better and better and better. And it's just seeing what you can do for our field.
Indeed. A synchrotron used to be new and exciting. Now that's the passé. All right. Thank you very much, Dean.
Hey, pleasure.
So it's day 3 of SVP. Everyone's a bit tired now, but I've managed to track down Luke Muscutt, who was talking yesterday or the day before. I've already lost track. Yesterday. So you were presenting to us your latest robot. I've forgotten the name of it. It was Flip, Flap, what was it?
Flip and then Flap. There's 2 new plesiosaur robots.
So we've mentioned them before. These are super cute. David Attenborough loves them, it seems. He's been to come and visit them.
Yeah.
So these are these little robots. Little, I guess they're as big as you are. How big are they?
They're about a metre long. In fact, exactly a metre long.
Exactly a metre long.
Yeah.
And you have been using them to investigate plesiosaur swimming by looking at the flaps.
Yeah.
So what use of robots in this approach?
Well, clearly we can't go and look at the actual plesiosaurs because they're long extinct.
Yep.
And there's not really any other animals that swim exactly like plesiosaurs.
Uh-huh.
There are other animals that use a sort of underwater flight motion.
Yep.
Like penguins, turtles and sea lions, but all of those only have one set of flippers. The unique thing about plesiosaurs is that they have another set of flippers behind the front ones. So the question is, like, how did they actually move them? I sort of looked at this question during my PhD in Southampton, but the robot was fairly simplified, and really it was just looking at the effect of the flippers themselves, and there wasn't a head, a body, a tail. Also it couldn't turn. So I've developed these new robots to basically take the research one step further and to try and look at how these flippers, how flipper phasing and the flipper motions might affect their swimming capability, but for sort of realistic plesiosaur shapes.
Absolutely. So in the talk and in some of your videos you've done before, you show these really nice vortices coming out the back and the sort of phases in which they would have done it and how they would have been efficient. That's lovely. You made a joke about whether or not you could make a submarine on the basis of this, or if there's some not biotechnology, that's the wrong word. What's the word I'm looking for? Engineering type approaches where you could make this some sort of automated marine drone. Presumably you haven't got like BAE Systems asking you to create some sort of underwater drone based on plesiosaur technology?
This technology is quite early stages, so that sort of funding, they only really like ideas that are a bit more resolved, a bit more closer to an actual product. Frankly, I'm not particularly inspired by the military approaches anyway, although with engineering there's obviously a lot of money.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you about that, because you said you're currently working in the jet engine lab at Imperial, is that right?
Yeah, so most of our money there comes from Rolls-Royce, but it's actually mostly commercial aviation.
Well, it's kind of nice to think there's an intersection between thinking about ancient marine reptiles and jet engines. And I guess, jet engines are important, they pay the bills, we need them.
Yeah, to some extent, we do need them. But yeah, I guess there are ways of getting funding through military, but say there's this sort of sideline project where there's like a project that's stemmed from the plesiosaur stuff, which is this new turtle robot.
Oh yes, tell us about the turtle. That's the new one, isn't it?
Yeah. So
what's she called? She has a name.
Shelley.
Shelley.
Yeah,
of course.
Very obvious.
I'm only just getting the pun now. I didn't during the talk. I knew that she was called Shelley. I'm now understanding Shell Turtle. Okay, great.
Yeah, I think when you make robots, you first have to name them, and then secondly, it has to be a silly name. But yeah, so Shelley the turtle robot, the idea is that it's a validation case for the plesiosaur.
Yes, because you know what a turtle does and you can measure it in real life.
We know there's plenty of sort of biological experiments where people have gone out and taken videos of turtles, see how they swim, but also put them in tanks and stuff and measured thrust coefficients and drag and stuff like this. So you basically know what a turtle does. If we can generate a turtle robot that reproduces the right thrust and efficiency, then it kind of gives us more confidence in the plesiosaur experiments. That's kind of the idea. But there's lots of applications of this sort of thing in its own right. So you could imagine a drone that could go out to monitor sea turtle populations, keep an eye on them, instead of actually putting tags on the animals, which is quite invasive. It's kind of detrimental to their performance. Current ways of assessing turtles is like you either put a GPS tracker like on their shell or on their flipper. Yeah, it's not really good for them. But you imagine this drone that could go out and actually monitor the populations, take readings of the salinity and stuff. But maybe even it has some cutters in its mouth, and it could maybe even rescue entangled turtles from nets and stuff like that.
Wow.
So that's the kind of long-term application goal. But also there's other things, like I love like going back to the military stuff. I like the idea of like turtle-based mine clearing robots.
Oh,
so turtles
nice,
are actually one of the few animals that are quite they're reasonably okay on land, and they're reasonably okay in the sea. They're quite an amphibious sort of creature because they have to come up to nest and stuff. So you imagine some robot that's just built very strong with a really, really robust shell, and it can sort of like go around the surf and clear mines on beaches, and maybe it just it's so strong that it can just...
just to tell everybody, because they haven't seen the images, if you're listening, Shelley is very, very cute, the cute robot, but now she might get blown to smithereens. But it's for the greater good.
Exactly.
Thank you for your service, Shelley.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Well, thanks very much, Luke. Before I go, is there anything else that you've enjoyed that is, you're looking forward to SVP that you've been excited by?
I mean, it's just nice to be here, isn't it? Part of the community, and see a lot of familiar faces, catch up with some old friends, and cool. Just sort of take the temperature, see what's happening in paleontology in 2025.
Yep. Good. Thank you very much, Luke.
All right, thanks.
The Fossil Files was presented by Robert Sansom and Susanna Maidment. You can find more information, including links to the original papers that were discussed, at fossils.libsyn.com, and you can contact us at fossilfiles.pod@gmail.com.